Ladies and gentlemen.
Welcome to the Reliability U podcast with Brett Scott and Adam Lunt, where we talk about all things reliability. Stay tuned. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the Reliability U podcast. And I say good morning depending on where you are in the world listening to this. And I guess since we're not live, it really depends on what time you're watching the readback. Um, so anyway, I'm one of your hosts, Adam Lunt, and as usual, the lovely.
Brett Scott, how you guys doing?
So it looks like you. Not a whole lot of background change here. It looks like you're still in the office. What are you?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
Still, luckily,
just
get a little break from the road for a little bit. So, yeah.
lazying it up, man.
Yeah, it's fantastic. But,
You got to get out there.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyway, wanted to get back on. We've spent here over the last couple episodes, we've spent an inordinate amount of time, whether by design or not, I don't know, talking about vibration and implications. Last episode, we talked a lot about not only doing route-based vibration, but also, doing the online stuff, how those work together. Colin offered a lot of insight into that, and it was refreshing to hear that as well. Got into quite a bit of balancing too. We definitely don't want to. The Reliability podcast is all things reliability, not all things vibration. So I feel like we need to start slowly making a pivot into some other stuff. Now, obviously, we're still going to talk about vibration because it's near and dear to both of our hearts.
Right.
Um, it's how we both, well, it's how I got started, and it's how you very quickly picked up your career after you got started.
Right. Yeah. Well, and
Um,
it kind of goes, that's the thing. It's why it gets brought up so much, too, is it really goes with all the other technologies really well. It's kind of it seems like most programs are built around the Vibe program, and then the other things are brought in later or in addition to. It seems like it is the base. So that's kind of why it does get so much time. But you're right. We've spent quite a bit of time more focused on it, that today's subject should help break off of that just a little bit. So,
yeah, bridge that gap into some other stuff. So one thing, and we will agree on this, vibration has an absolute multitude of positive uses when building a reliability program or any kind of predictive or proactive program. It's definitely, like you said, it's kind of the benchmark or the staple or the anchor pin, whatever you want to call it, of a lot of programs. But there's so much more to it. Now, while we say vibration has all these things, and it definitely is extremely valuable, from my perspective, like we'll say outsider looking in, what I see one of the downfalls of vibration is without the training on the analysis of the interpretation, the data's kind of worthless if
right.
you don't know what you're looking at. Now, you can learn just enough to be dangerous, you know,
Yeah.
in pretty short order, and then you can go clear up to a Cat 4B. I mean, there's how you're going to get out of it what you put into it.
Yeah.
But where that becomes an issue is typically the guy who's trained in how to interpret the data and do the analysis isn't the guy with the checkbook. And you end up as an analyst coming back and telling, your boss or management or whatever it is, hey, we're noticing this. Uh, we need to replace it, shut it down, fix it, re-engineer it, whatever the corrective measure is we need to take. And that guy, while extremely talented and intelligent in his own right, might be ignorant to what the spectral data is telling you. So he'll say, "Oh, great, prove it to me." And then you got an analyst showing him a bunch of FFTs, and he's going, "That may as well be written in Latin."
Yeah.
So I just got to trust you. And I think we can go back, and everyone's heard the adage, a picture's worth 1,000 words, right? So I'm not going to say that the photo way of doing this or the video way of doing this is always the right way, but depending on the situation, I think it definitely stands on its own.
Yeah.
And when I talk about this, I'm talking about both high speed photography and motion amplification.
Yeah.
There's a use case for both. Have you used any of this in the
Yeah.
past in
Yeah.
great detail?
Primarily the motion amplification. videos. There's a couple different ways, not a lot of ways to do it. There's only a few people really providing the equipment that I'm aware of currently, but try not to worry about mentioning names and things. That's not the important part. But like you can even, I know at some of the places I've worked, we were able to process videos taken from cell phones, and there's some kind of a analysis software, maybe modal analysis type software that's capable of taking those videos from your cell phone and actually turn them in motion amplification. So a couple different ways, not a ton of options on the market, but there's ways to do this. And it does go hand in hand with Vibe very well, but it's also, like any other technology, it's limited. So and the guy that we're going to bring on here is going to be able to talk way more in detail about this than us. But just from my personal experience, it seems like it's mostly used when you have like structural type issues with, like, if you're picking up any 1x, 2x, 3x type problems in your spectrum, your Vibe spectrum, that's usually a good candidate to throw this camera on it to figure out, is there a bass issue? Is there looseness that I'm not picking up, or having trouble identifying exactly where it's coming from? It's a good tool for that. And that's about, and I really have never even had any like actual training on it, any official training on it. So I was just given the
Likewise.
allowed to play with it. So yeah, I would love to get some training. And actually, I guess this guy we're going to be talking to might be able to set us up and at least tell us where to go to get it. But
I
yeah,
sure I sure hope so, and I'm positive that he will be. He's a very accomplished analyst in his own right as well, so he can definitely speak to both sides of it. It's not going to be one of those you need motion amplification because,
right.
well, you might in some situations, but he'll be the first to tell you. In other places, go back to the old school way of doing it. Sometimes the simplest is the best.
Well, and for
So,
instance, like that's one of the things I want to ask him is, which we'll get to that, but like I've always known it was great for those low frequency type things, but I also am like, I don't know if anybody's put any time into, can you catch bearings with this? Because typically I would think not, but I also haven't used it enough to know, are
right.
people able to catch bearing faults early, or is it kind of a late stage thing, or does it just not work very well for it? But it'd be a good thing to know, because I may have been misusing this. Well, I'm sure I've been misusing these cameras when I had them, because I hadn't had
Yeah.
any training, but they're fun to play with anyway.
Well, we were able to get, now it wasn't a motion amplification camera, but we did get our hands on that 2200 frame per second camera. And we brought it out to your house. Got some really good videos of me shooting a crossbow and you hitting a golf ball with it.
Yeah, that's a
It's,
fun toy to play with
if
too.
nothing else, we can play with the stuff.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I guess people don't care about golf balls and bow and arrows that are on here. I would assume. So
Yeah, they probably do, but that's not why they do. So
yeah. So I'd say, well, without further ado, let's bring on our next guest, huh?
sounds good.
All right, everybody. Warm round of applause, and please help us welcome Dustin Davis.
Welcome, Dustin.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
Man, it's great to finally get you on, man.
Absolutely. Schedules finally line up. Appreciate it.
Eh, I think Brett can speak to that. Sometimes it's hard for us to even get on, and it's like we just need to have like a 20-minute phone call to talk about a podcast. He's like, "Well, I can fit you in next Tuesday from 7 to 7:30." It's like,
Right.
so are you home this week?
I am. Yeah, most of this week and some of next. And then SMRP the following.
I think everybody's going to. That's Fort Worth, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah,
That's
I think
that in the Midwest, that seems like that's the one show that people travel to. It's the most prominent in the Midwest, at least, as opposed
yeah.
to like Vibration Institute and stuff. So
Have you
So
been to that
last
one before?
was that?
Do you go to that one, or have you before?
I have been to that one every year since 2018, except for one. Yeah.
Wow. I haven't been.
That's reverse for me. The only one that I went to is when they did it in St. Louis,
Oh yeah.
and that was the year coming out of COVID,
Mm-hmm.
and they were offering like all the modules online, and they had everything to where you could do it remotely because nobody wanted to travel, and of course
Right.
they did it down at that America Center
Yes.
where the Rams used to play. That conference center is massive,
Huge.
and you
Yeah.
walk into this place and there's like 12 vendors and like 10. It's like because everything was online. I mean, it was more than that. It was
Right.
actually it was a decent show given the circumstances, but it was.
Right.
I mean, we were there 3 days. I think I talked to like 15 people. It was pretty
Wow.
brutal,
Yeah,
but
for sure.
I think it's a good conference. I think that was just a bad year for it.
Right. And last year was canceled.
Oh,
I
was
was
it?
actually, yeah, that was down in Florida because of Helene. Um,
Oh, okay.
yeah, I was traveling down to Knoxville and I was waiting to get on my flight Sunday morning, and I'm like, is it going to be canceled? Is it not? And at
I
the
remember
last
I was
minute,
on the phone with you
yeah,
because I
yeah, we
told you
were.
you were at the airport, and I'm like, you're like, well, I think I'm flying out. I'm not sure if I ever not. And I didn't hear from you again that day, and then you text me or called me the next day, and you're like, well, I'm back home.
Yep, just turned
Well, I
around,
guess
came home.
that didn't happen.
Right.
But I always got a lot of fun and had a kick out of our local chapter events as well. The Iowa
Hmm.
Nebraska chapter, I always thought they do a great event over there every year in Ashland, which we had to cancel that last year, last
Right.
minute because of the government, the park employee furlough,
Right.
and
Yeah, Kansas City
because
has a good chapter too.
they do.
They're active. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I know Doug Hart does a great job with that chapter.
Yes.
Because I've been a member of that chapter and ours. I don't know, 5 years now, four
Right.
years. I don't remember exactly. And I joined Kansas City shortly after because Paul Crocker was like, hey, you really need to join our chapter. And like I've said in previous times here, when Paul Crocker speaks, you just listen and do what Paul Crocker says and don't ask questions. I'm like,
Right.
all right, Paul, here's my money.
Yep.
But
Absolutely.
the last event I did with them down there was last year. I went to one of their events because it's a pretty good poke for me. It's probably what 5.5 hour drive for you.
Yeah. Yep.
It's 3.5 for me. And I went down. I took my stepdad with me because it was right around his birthday, and they did a tour of Arrowhead.
Oh, I did
So we
not
got to go
get to
down in the
that one.
locker
Yep.
room and the whole thing. That was a lot of fun. And my stepdad's a big Chiefs fan for whatever reason. I think it's because he's a Taylor Swift fan, so he just by
By
nature.
default.
Yeah. But it was fun. We went down there and toured the stadium. Got to go out on the sidelines and do the whatever that tomahawk yell thing is that they do.
Yep.
There was like 12, 14 of us, and it sounds like there's about 50,000 because of the way that stadium's built. But
Right.
anyway, they do a lot of cool
That's
things
awesome.
with the chapter. Yeah.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
I'm looking forward to getting the stuff going back up here again next year. I'm hoping next April we have another successful event wherever that may be.
Right. Absolutely.
We'll
Yep.
see. Because I know you're kind of spearheading that as well, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm on the board. We're trying to figure out the logistics of the Ashland location again. Maybe coming back to a little more central Iowa, but that Ashland location has been great to us. So it'll be
Yeah.
tough to switch.
Yeah.
And and we
Yeah.
also have some really cool motion amplification video of the escalator.
Oh yeah.
we got we were
Yep.
messing around that day during the presentations, and I had my booth set up directly across the little atrium from Dustin. He's like, "Hey, come here." And he's got this camera set up, and it's cool to watch an escalator bounce around like that in motion.
Absolutely.
But
You could
Yeah,
definitely scare
there's a
people
lot
away
of
from
lot of
using it if you
applications.
wanted to.
Yeah, for sure.
so that being said, I think everyone kind of has an idea where the podcast is going to go today. I really want to talk about motion amplification. Um, I can't think of anybody that knows more about it, and not only motion amp, but just high speed photography in general. Because there's a difference for sure.
Oh yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
and you're the expert on this, not me, but from the little bit I know, the motion amplification side of it versus high speed definitely gives you, more in-depth analysis. You get a better overall picture. It gives you just better data, but the high-speed cameras are more of a quick and dirty. It doesn't require the getting the lighting right and setting it up on a try. You can just grab a handheld camera. Yeah, it maybe I'm sure the quality of the data is somewhat diminished, but the
Right.
simplicity behind it, you can hand it to an operator and say, just go take a 5-second video of this. So,
Right.
and then also the third side of that, if you want to, it's a triple-edged sword in this case. You just have vibration. I mean, sometimes
Yeah.
that's the right way to go too. It doesn't always require a camera. So, what's your
Correct.
thoughts? What have you seen? Just kind of talk us through benefits and pitfalls of all of them.
Yeah, and there's a lot to all of that. One of the things I talk about first is there's a couple reasons we don't see vibration. Either the movement is too fast, and you can slow that down with a high-speed camera, whether that be a cell phone or a motion amplification camera or any other high-speed camera using that type of technology, or the amplitude of that movement is too small. And so then you can amplify that movement. And that's something you can't do with just a high-speed camera on your phone. So there's definitely applications where it'd be so much easier if I can see the movement, but it's just too fast. Use the phone. And when you can do that, that makes a big difference.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. And that makes sense. So do you see, um, and I was mentioning earlier, and chime in on this. I think the whole picture's worth a thousand words philosophy holds a lot of merit, and trying to explain to somebody who might not understand vibration or might not be able to interpret vibration. And there's a lot of people out there that, yeah, they understand it has benefits, they understand what it's doing, but they still have no idea how to interpret a time wave or an FFT or a polar plot or whatever it is. But anybody, it's kind of like thermography. You might not understand the theory behind thermography and understand how it works, but red is hot, hot is bad. It's
Right.
easy to show somebody and say, well, I don't know what any of that means, but those aren't red. That one is. Something's
Right.
up. Do you think that is a driving force behind a lot of motion amplification? Just the simplicity of interpretation?
I would be lying if I said no. So if anybody doesn't know me or my background, I spent 16 years with a predictive maintenance service company. In 2017, we were about to adopt motion amplification. I was against it. I was
Okay.
like, I can understand all of these squiggly lines, the spectrum and waveform. Why do I need to have something that shows me what's actually going on? I took it out a couple times after we got it because I lost that battle. and, and just being able to show a customer exactly where the problem is, as opposed to, check for structural looseness. You come back next month, all 4 bolts are tight. There's no looseness. You're wrong. Okay, well, there was flexing on the frame, or there was a grouting that was bad. And I was there to do route based. I wasn't there to do more of a complex phase measurements and be able to see exactly where it's at. Man, being able to communicate what I understood with the vibration to somebody that they don't care. They don't need to know that. All they need to know is, where do I need to fix and how do I fix it?
Right.
That's huge.
And
So
how
yeah,
long
you
is it
hit the
going to
nail on the head.
last?
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Do I
reporting
have
side of
till
things.
November 13th?
It has to make it through 7 o'clock 6 days from now. It's like,
That's always
yeah,
what they want to know. Is that's the
Oh,
first question
absolutely.
when you report something? Is how much time do I have?
and the
But
Yeah.
correct answer is always until it fails.
Yep.
That's how long you have.
right up to the point.
I've stuck my foot in my mouth on that one before. It's like, oh yeah, I think it'll make it. Guess what? It didn't make it.
But
Right.
And
yeah,
all they
Yep.
heard was Adam said. No, no, Adam didn't say. But whatever. You're always going to lose that battle.
For sure.
well,
Yeah,
it's
I
good that
think you
you
hit the
have
nail right.
that
I'm sorry.
vibration background too, because those it seems like these two go hand in hand pretty well, and I could
Yeah.
definitely see like what you're saying, having the vibe background as well. Trying to show somebody a report, and they're like, I don't have training in this stuff. All this stuff that you're talking about, like you're gonna have to explain it to very layman's terms because I don't get it. But you show them a video or a picture, and yeah, it's so much quicker. They don't need that training. They don't have to follow all the terminology you're throwing around, and you can sell it to them much easier.
Right. Yeah. I mean, look at your background. There's all kinds of spectrum and waveforms there. You can't show that to, somebody that doesn't understand it. You show
Right.
the trend. And if
Yeah.
it's not going like this,
Yeah.
it's fine. But if
Yeah.
it's going straight up with that trending, then they're like, oh man, this is horrible.
Yeah, they can
So,
read those. Trends are easy.
yeah,
But yeah, I
absolutely.
mean, the RDI website, that's what I was funny. You're talking about pictures with 1,000 words, etc. But first thing I see when I pull it up is seeing is believing. I'm like, that's a good statement for this because,
Yeah,
yeah, it's
for
so
sure.
much quicker to see it and understand it.
Yep. Yeah.
Speaking of which,
And good.
if you have an in the "Seeing is Believing" T-shirt with the logo on it, mine got bleached. So at any point in time, I'm just
You
Just
trying to
throwing
get
out
free
there.
stuff again? Come
I
on.
am trying to get free stuff on here, man. Until we have an advertising budget, I'm going to wear other people's stuff.
Free
Okay.
stuff, and you throw me under the bus on camera.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Way to
Right?
go. That.
What? Then it got bleached? That's not your fault. That's my wife's
No.
fault.
Oh, I wouldn't. Oh, that's
Yeah,
even
Uh,
worse.
you're
I'd
treading
rather
on.
she's
say it
not
was
going to watch this. I'm all right.
Yeah, you're treading dangerous ground, buddy.
Yeah. Send me your shirt size. I'll get you taken care of.
I'll do it. You're the man.
Uh, you should have put
No,
him on the spot. Say your shirt size right here on camera. Then you get him back that way.
I thought about that, but then I'd get a text 20 minutes later. Just kidding. It's really
Yeah,
True.
it's
Yeah.
a schmedium.
right.
That's all you need to know. I wear a schmedium.
So
Yeah.
with you seeing all these, collecting all these videos over the years, do you have any like specific things that like stood out that was like very cool videos that just, because I've seen a lot online that are pretty neat to see, but have you come across any very unique type situations that were to use the camera?
Yeah. People always ask me, where can I use it? And you can use it literally anywhere. Some of the cooler things that I have seen, if most people see them, they freak out. Say
Yeah.
like bridges. They are
Oh, yeah.
designed to flex and move. If they're not
Right.
flexing and moving, that's probably a problem. And so taking a video and seeing that is cool. And I understand that, it's supposed to move. We have seen some amusement park rides. Some of those are maybe not interesting, but a little concerning. I have used it at my house for my lawnmower. I have a riding lawnmower, and I wasn't sure which pulley underneath was causing my problem. I didn't want to replace all 6. I'm cheap. I put it on, and you could see exactly which one was going like side to side like this. Okay, ordered that one, and I was done.
That's
Awesome.
cool.
So yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot now in the test and measurement or research and development space that they're using it to try to. And we've all seen the PF curves and get that flaw out in the design side. And so, if you have battery cells for a lawnmower or a handheld tool, how are those vibrating together? And how can you mitigate that? Those are some of the cool things that I think we as more predictive maintenance people don't usually see. So seeing that in the design side is really cool.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, and
That
you
is
win a
neat.
prize for mentioning the P to F curve, which I think, like the Pee Wee Herman show where they had the word of the day and they have all these. We need to do that because anytime the P to F curves, we love it. It's always a fun topic because everybody brings that. Well, not everybody, but it's always brought up. It seems like.
They really should. I know when I do even alignment trainings in my slide deck, I just slip a PDF curve in there just randomly. It's not even, it doesn't even like, it doesn't flow at all. It's like
Right.
soft, we're talking about soft foot and corrections and like base deflections and the PDF curve and then doing rough alignment. They're like, what was that? And I'm like,
Wait,
don't
what
worry
was
about
it?
that.
Yeah. Well,
Don't worry about it. If you haven't seen that before, you'll see it soon. Don't worry. It's
Right.
everywhere. It's
Yeah.
everywhere.
That's
Yeah.
funny.
Well, so start thinking a little bit about what the prize is for that. Maybe it's a koozie.
right. Yeah. Yeah.
We need PDF koozies.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it should be a company shirt.
There you go.
Oh, yeah.
Not a bad
Remember, I
idea.
just talked about our advertising budget.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's what we
It'll
call
be a
non-existent.
Sharpie written on a white T-shirt from Walmart, but yeah, it's coming your way.
Yeah, we're
I
liable to
like
use
it.
spelled wrong with a backwards
Yeah,
R's,
yeah,
and
exactly.
the Toys R Us logo has been like.
Well,
But
I had
it's
a
funny you
question I was
said
thinking
that.
about too beforehand with the videos, because I've had no formal training using one. I've got my hands on them, kind of played with them, just got to do that. That's about as far as my experience has gone with it. But I noticed what it seems to work well with is a lot of the structural type, lower frequency type stuff that you find with vibration. But do you know of anybody or have you had experience that's able to do anything like to catch bearings with a video at any stage, early or late stage?
Yeah, so I get that question a lot. A lot of people will say, "Hey, this looks a lot easier than traditional vibration analysis. And can we use this camera as our vibration program?"
Yeah.
And even though I'm on that side, I'm like, "No, this isn't a replacement. It's an additional tool. Just like an infrared camera isn't going to find, misalignment. I mean, it can, but that's not usually where it's used.
Right.
So I've seen 2 videos where it's seen bad bearings. I definitely wouldn't trust the actual quantitative data, because one, our native measurement is displacement. So we're looking at low frequency stuff.
Right.
Stuff that a lot of people don't understand, that an accelerometer isn't really good at low frequency stuff.
Right.
And so, but we are, motion amplification or any video based technology isn't going to be good at finding higher frequency stuff. So the 2 videos I seen, if you have ever been in a facility before, you probably heard it from 50 to 100 feet away. That it was a bad bearing. You didn't need to see a video. Right.
That's fair.
So it's definitely not the use case.
And that's kind of what
are
I
maybe
thought.
things coming down the road in the future. So definitely keep an eye out. But right now, there's nothing.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I know it's obviously helpful to have a vibration background when utilizing motion amplification. What's your opinion? Do you think it's necessary to have that background, or do you just think it's beneficial?
Beneficial.
Okay.
So I would say, out of all the customers that we have trained, 40 to 50% have a vibration background. 20 to 30% are some sort of engineer, and the other 20 to 30 are managers.
Okay.
And just understanding what's moving, because most people are taking the camera out when they think there might be a problem, and they're trying to identify where. So at that point, amplitude isn't really a big issue for them. Just show me where it's at.
What is it?
So you don't even have to pull up the spectrum and waveform that you do get from the camera. You're just trying to see what's flexing, what's bending, what bolt is loose. Is there a soft foot? And that's really easy to see just in a video.
And I think it goes back to what you said. It's communication,
Right?
you know,
100%.
if you can, it's really hard to communicate, for example, hey, I see, I've got a high amplitude, spike at this frequency with modulated sidebands at run speed. And people look at you like, okay, that sounds fancy. But if you go,
Right.
hey, look at this, they're like, holy shit, we probably should shut that down and fix it. So yeah,
Right.
I think it's 100% communication. I think there's a lot to it. And it's nice to hear you say too, they work well together. It's
Yes.
not you go buy this camera, it's gonna, solve all your problems.
No.
No one
Nope.
tool is gonna solve all your problems other than a pair of channel locks. Channel
Right.
locks will solve all of your problems.
Hammers.
Channel hammers. You got your pry bar, you got your screwdriver, you got your hammer, you got it all right in one.
Yeah.
And see, I always say there's 2 tools I need in my garage: a hammer and a bigger hammer. We'll fix it.
That's that's I guess a fair point. I mean, you can always,
Right.
and then a bigger hammer to knock the first hammer or the second hammer off the first one. Just
Yeah,
keep
exactly.
going right down the line. So help me out a little bit, because I don't have any formal training with this, but from what I understand, and I'm assuming because it's because of the frame rate, that not only having stability in your setup, you also have to have correct lighting. Is that correct? And that tends to be a problem in a lot of facilities. Anybody ever been out in the plant? They don't spend a whole lot of money on lighting. Typically, they're pretty
Right.
dimly lit areas. Is
Yeah.
that something you have to combat?
Absolutely. And that's the biggest misconception with it. And it's not related to any of the video based platforms, whether it's motion amplification or anything else. It's physics. If you're taking a high speed video, that camera sensor is opening and shutting on that shutter so fast that light doesn't get in.
Okay.
So that's not the issue with just any of the technologies. It is physics. I mean, it's
Okay.
like when you take a photo. I mean, I got cameras in the back. You take a long exposure photo because you want to let more light in to be able to see something. Well, if you take longer exposure photo, you get blurred images. So, there are additional lighting that is needed in certain applications. One of the biggest ones is in the basement of a paper mill. It's dark, it's dirty, it's wet. You're going to need some light down there. If you're in a research and development or test and measurement facility, those labs are usually pretty well lit. So,
Oh yeah. And with
and
that that white hospital light almost, I don't know what they call that, but
right,
there's no warm glow to it. It doesn't make you feel
no,
cozy.
no, that's 55 to 6,000 Kelvin for sure. Yeah,
Right.
Well, we've talked about misusing tools on previous podcasts too. I mean, any of these tools we have, we can get the guy running and doesn't know what he's doing, which I was one of those guys for a while too. But one thing I noticed, talking about the lighting, was I was not prepared to or trained to or even understood that, like, I had one of my first videos I took just without any training was I had a lot of the light flashing, and setting up frame rate and stuff like that. I had no idea about it. So that
right,
was one of
Good.
the first things I kind of realized, is that that's something that needs to be adjusted, and just didn't have the training.
for sure.
Is
Yeah,
is there
a
ever
lot of
Oh, go ahead.
a lot of facilities that still have fluorescent lighting, they flicker. And
Yeah.
this kind of goes back to the vibration thing where it flickers so fast that we can't see it with the human eye. But a camera that's taking a video that is not in sync with that will absolutely see that. And so that's why a lot of our videos are taken at 120 frames per second, 240 frames per second, because the frames per second of the video divided by two is your hertz. So if you're taking a, say, 120 frame per second video, that's 60 hertz and below. Well, in North America, 60 hertz is line frequency. So you're in sync every time that's flashing, your shutter's closing.
Huh.
So you're in sync and you don't see that. If you
okay?
get off of that, then that becomes an issue. And that's talked about in the training course. But yeah, if you just pick it up and run out, you could absolutely run into that issue.
How long is the training course for? And
It
do you
is
have
3
certain
days now.
levels? Is it just
Yeah,
one?
great question. We
Or
have three. We have the basic, then we have advanced, and the advanced goes into more, hey, I see this, let's diagnose or dig deep into a complex type situation. And then we have advanced features. There's some things like laser tack. You can sync the camera's frame rate to rotational speed, just like a strobe light. So if something's rotating and you freeze it, now you can see, is there twisting or is there axial movement while it's rotating? Which that's a really cool functionality, but there are some tweaks to how you do that.
Huh.
So yeah,
Sure.
there's definitely a benefit there.
Okay, cool.
I think the whole science behind these cameras, I think, is pretty cool because, unlike vibration, which is, I would say, in its current iteration, I mean, obviously the tools advance, every day, but in its current
Right.
iteration, has been around since what, the '60s, probably, the way
Yeah.
we currently do it. Motion amplification's been around 10 years.
Yeah.
I
Almost 10
am I
years.
right on that?
Yeah,
Um,
that's pretty close.
Huh.
okay. So I mean, I think a lot of people look at it because you have your five primary technologies with, and motion amplification isn't one of them,
Right.
but it fits into the section, I would assume, with vibration. It's like
Yep.
Yeah.
vibration subsect B is motion amplification, kind of like
Sure.
alignment's not a primary technology. I argue
Right.
that maybe it should be,
Yeah.
Yep.
but I can also understand where, we're trying to do non-destructive stuff as to where alignment is. So, okay,
Right.
I can see the battle from either side. But do you feel that, and I know motion amplification is definitely becoming more and more popular year after year, but do you think that one of the reasons, maybe not the driving factor, that people don't use it is just hesitation because of how long it's been around?
Absolutely. That and the we still have some people, and I was one of them, that I don't believe in that technology. Vibration works.
Yeah,
Guess what? When vibration analysis came out and people were using accelerometers and looking at waveforms, other people were saying, "Nope, I got my screwdriver. It
right.
works. That works great." It
Yeah,
took a while. The Navy kind of pioneered vibration analysis, and as it transitioned into the industrial world, it took a while for people to buy in. I mean, I remember when I started in 2003, you'd go into facilities and they'd be like, "That vibration, that's black magic. That stuff doesn't work."
Smoke and mirrors.
And now it's mainstream. It's accepted pretty much everywhere. So
right.
yeah, I think that is a big issue with it, is people just, it hasn't been around long enough and not enough
Sure.
exposure. So
Yeah.
Do you-
And I think, go ahead, Brett.
I was just curious, like, and I don't know if you know on the sales side of things, but like, do you know if there's certain industries that like are way more into the motion amplification than others, or is it kind of all over the place?
So I can't speak to all the companies and competitors. I know for us, our number one industry is power generation,
Hmm.
nuclear facilities, and that is especially niche because it's non-contact. And
Yeah.
if you go in and do any sort of predictive, any sort of work in a nuclear facility, your paperwork is this long, and if you deviate where you're going to put an accelerometer, you got to go back to the drawing board, write everything out. If you move the camera and you're not touching anything, you don't have to do all that. So
Yeah.
that makes
Okay.
a big difference. And then refineries, oil and gas, because piping, it's piping moves. And
Yeah.
that's a huge way or huge thing to use a camera on as non-contact. You can see multiple pipes all at the same time. That's big. And most people don't have any sort of condition monitoring tools on piping unless it's very, very critical.
Yeah.
Right.
It is
One.
crazy how many cameras, how many different technologies now have versions of cameras that can do the things that we used to not be able to do with cameras. Because I mean, we've had thermography for years. There's also
Yep.
ultraviolet cameras. I don't know if you guys have used any of those or seen those used for like coronal discharge on electrical lines and things. So we're looking at the various different spectrum of light with cameras, but we're also now have what some people refer to this as vibration cameras. We have ultrasound cameras now. It's crazy
Right.
how many things. And that non-contact is a good point. Sometimes you don't think about that part, but safety-wise, sometimes that is a better option. So you're not right up against the machine, right there in the hazard zone.
Right. For sure.
I just actually ran into that this past Monday. I don't know if you guys saw. I put a LinkedIn post up on it a couple days ago. I was out at a steel mill and went out to their substation. They're like, "There's something going on up there." They could hear it, and yep, there it is. I mean, I'm talking within. It took
Right.
longer to boot the camera up than it did to find the problem. And it's like, but it's Corona. Well, how do you know? And I said, because I'm looking at a PRPD plot. I can
Right.
tell you not only where it is, but I can tell you what it is. It's like, oh, that's awesome. Well, yeah, it's awesome, and
And it's a
that's
lot
that's what
quicker.
these things do. And they're like, but a lot of people look at it like it's black magic. And
Yep.
and speaking of these high frame rate things, and we'll go back to the most rudimentary. We'll call it the prequel to Motion Amp. Just go back to a simple strobe light.
Yep.
I know I was doing a training class one time, and love him to death. He was young and he was learning. My little brother was in the class, and I was showing him how to use strobe light. And we dialed it in on, I think it was just like a oscillating fan or something that we turned on. And I like dialed this thing in, and I look over at him, and his like eyes are like saucers and his jaw's on the floor, and he's looking at that and he's like, "How'd you do that?" And I said, "I just matched the run speed with the CPM of the strobe." And he goes, "That is so cool." And he didn't reach for it like a lot of people do. So I'll
I
give
was
him
gonna
credit.
ask.
No, he didn't reach for it. A lot of people have done that. And they're like, "Oh, how'd
Yep.
you do that?" And it's like, "Get your hand out of there, man." But he
Yep.
looks at it, and it was so funny because I said, "You know how this," because I was going to try to explain, your eye refresh rate and blah, blah, blah. And like him then. Now it's matching. And I just said to him, I said, "You understand how this works, right?" And he looks me square in the eyes and he goes, "You could tell me it's fucking black magic and I'd believe you." And I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
It was so funny. And I mean, and he worked with us for quite a while. And he learned a lot. I mean, he came in young and,
Right.
I don't ever fault somebody at the beginning. Hell, when I started doing this, I didn't know anything about it. I
Right.
think that's true
Yep.
for all of us.
I had
And if
no
it's
idea.
not, I don't know. It's not like you just born with the knowledge on it's like, "Hey, what was your first word?" "Mama, time waveform." I mean, that doesn't happen. Somebody has to teach you this shit over the years. And
Right. For
some
sure.
people pick it up, some people don't. Sometimes I truly believe some people just aren't ever going to get it. You're just not wired for it. Some people don't
Right.
have that mechanical mindset that I believe you have to look at any of this data, including motion amplification. But
Speaking of your
yeah,
brother, do you remember who taught him his first vibe class?
I do. He called me very excited. He went down to Wichita, and
Right.
Brett gave him his Cat 1.
Yeah, that
Did
was
he
a long
pass?
time ago, but
Yeah, did
yeah,
he pass? I never heard if he
yeah,
passed.
yeah, he passed.
Okay,
But
I wasn't sure if he did or not. Because I remember he called me on his way home, and he's like, "Oh, just got done with vibe training." I'm like, "How'd it go?" "Good."
yeah, That's pretty good.
Anything you want to add to that? No. Okay, whatever. Well, see you when you get home.
Instructor
Drive
was an
careful.
idiot.
Yeah.
Right.
He's like, did you have a beard like that back then where you scared the hell out of everybody?
Yeah, no, it's a lot shorter. So
Yeah, I
yeah.
think the beard's really, and I noticed yours is growing back into your face or something there, Davis.
Yeah. In the summer, I have to get rid of it. It gets way too hot. But my 10-year-old daughter gets mad every time I shave.
Really?
She doesn't like it. She likes it really long. So as it
See,
starts to get cold, it'll grow back for a little bit.
if I shaved my beard completely off and walked out in the kitchen, I'm pretty sure my 10-year-old daughter would just like bump into me while she's looking at her cell phone and probably wouldn't even notice. I'm confident somebody could break into our house and like just hang out on the couch, watch some TV, and she'd just go over, sit down next to him, feet up on the table, nose in the
No,
iPad. They kind of
Mhm.
checked out. Ten year
Oblivious.
olds
Right.
are good, and I honestly don't know. Is it the 10-year-old or is it the girl or is it a combination? I think it's
Yeah.
more the 10-year-old than the girl because my 6-year-old boy does the same shit. So
Well, yeah. There you go.
the only kids that even pay attention to me are the twins, And then sometimes I'm like, can you stop paying attention to me for a little bit? That'd be,
Give me a second.
I
Right.
could try to take a piss here. Why are you pulling on my leg? But speaking of, getting into this and where, the learning and, not knowing this stuff from the get-go, walk us through the, how you did get into this.
So just from vibration analysis, I had a friend in high school that got into this, and I was actually managing a restaurant at the time. And he's like, I got to go to this plant and this facility, and I got to see how they make this. And this was all stuff before the show, how it's made, which
Mm.
I
Right.
love.
Yeah.
And being able to travel around and see how things are made, put together, was big. And so
Mhm.
that's kind of how I got into it. He brought me on, and in 2003 I started. It took about a year before I was like, okay, this isn't going to be a job. This is going to be a career. I enjoy it. And it took about 2 years before I even, really was dangerous with understanding vibration analysis. It's not a technology you can just pick up and learn quick.
Yeah.
No.
For most people. Maybe I was just a very slow learner. That could be too. Maybe I should have had Brett, teaching me. I would have picked up right away.
Yeah, well, of course.
But he's so good at what he does.
It is one of the more difficult technologies, though, for sure.
It is.
Like I've gone to a lot of various different trainings through different companies over the years, and even brushed up on some stuff and hit some different ones. But like thermography's fun, but like it just feels like you can that class, even though it's fun, like a level one. I feel like you could really probably hand anybody an infrared camera, and within 10, 15 minutes of monkeying around with it, they can actually take decent shots. But that's what's nice about this training too, is it does go beyond that to not just operate the tool, but interpreting. That's where the class really comes into play. And that's the thing too, is I feel like some companies have done that to their people. Actually, I've heard several of them where when they come into my training class, they're like, well, thank goodness I have this. They just handed me the tool, and for the last year I've been struggling, saying good luck with it, figure it out. And like I said, I think an infrared camera, the learning curve is quicker. But with
Right.
this stuff, data collectors, motion amplification, yeah, maybe you get through some of the tools that are a little easier, a little more intuitive to use, but it's the stuff behind me, or that data that comes with it, that you really got to have the time in there. And that's the other thing too, with this training, and you probably similar thing with motion amplification, is, I remind students that come to the class that you're coming here to learn more about the analysis. That's what most of them want to do, is I want to be a better analyst. And I always remind them, I said, I really want to, I don't want to disappoint you, but I want to get you prepared for when this is a 3-day class, 3.5, whatever
Right.
day class. I can't make a great analyst in 3 days. I can give you the tools and I can explain things. You're going to forget a lot of it when you leave here. So it's the time in the chair behind the computer, analyzing the data. And I'm sure it's the same way with the cameras. You just got to keep using them and using them. Even with the training, you've got to, make sure you understand that there's going to be a certain amount of experience and time in the field that just isn't going to replace the training part. You just have to have both.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've always
It's just
thought
time.
it is, and I've
Putting the
always thought
time.
trainings, and I don't know logistically how you do it, but I've always thought with trainings, whatever it is, because I know a lot of guys that have, that cat whatever in their email signature. And there's like, I'm a cat 3. No, you might have a piece of paper saying you're a cat 3, but, and then I also
Yep.
know people that have no certifications that are pretty damn good at it.
Yeah.
So I've always thought with these trainings, it should really be say it's a 4-day class, for example. I don't know how you do it, but we're going to go in and we're going to do a day. And then you're going to go back to work for a month and you're going to
Right.
put that to use. Then we're going to come back and we're going to do day 2. Cause I don't know how you would ever do it, because it seems like you cram 32 hours or 36 hours worth of information into somebody. They're going to retain about 8 hours of that. It's just human nature. And then
Yeah.
you get back to work and you're trying to implement it and you're like, well, shit, how do I do that? I can't remember. And I think everybody, and like I told the story in I think it was our first episode about me taking my cat 1, and I was driving a Coke semi and I just got a free level 1. So I'm like, yeah, why not? I like certifications. So I
Yeah.
went out to Colorado and got it. Yeah, I got cat 1 after my name. I'd never touched a data collector in my life. Yeah,
Yep.
the first time I
No.
ever even saw a data collector was at the training. I'm like, ooh, that's cool. What's that?
Yeah.
And they got us like they got the little, benchtop rotors and stuff that we can go
Yep.
get data on. And it's like, oh, this is neat. I have no idea practically where is this ever going to be used. It's
Right.
neat. Sure. And then but then once I got out in industry and started doing this a little bit, I'm like, oh, now you start making the relationships with,
Right.
I remember that and this is how it works. And
Yeah.
I think that's true with any training, but the big thing with training and there's no way to combat it. I've taught a lot of classes. You guys both have taught a lot of classes in various things over the years. And it's pretty evident the guys that want to be there and the guy whose boss told him he had to be there.
Yeah.
And I
Yep.
cannot train give a fuck into you.
Yeah.
If
Right.
you don't want to be there because your boss signed you up for it because you got to check that box in order to keep some internal certification, I don't know what
Yep.
to tell you, man.
Yeah.
All I can say is if you don't want to be here, I don't care. You guys already paid. There's the door.
Right.
And if
Yep.
you don't want to learn, just please sit there quietly and don't learn so we don't
Let
hold
everyone.
everybody else back.
Yes.
Right.
But
Now, I
Yeah,
think
you find out who your champions are quick.
very
you
quickly.
usually do. Yeah. Usually you can tell when I have a class, I can usually tell those people that their boss said they needed to be there. They didn't really care. And usually I can tell which ones are going to pass right off the bat because of that. It's if they don't
Right.
care,
Mhm.
I could be the best teacher in the world. If they're just tuning me out, it doesn't,
Right.
doesn't
Not
matter.
could be, are the best teacher in the world.
Right. But yeah, I think certification is important, but it is like what we just touched on is it's important if it's used correctly. If you don't use it, you lose it. Get that certification, then start putting it to work. It's because, like you said, I've had people that are just good test takers too, that I also
Yes.
wouldn't. They have that cat 3 behind their name, and they're supposed to have the time in the field that goes with it. But I think that doesn't always. I'm not saying it's dishonest, but I think sometimes those numbers of hours in the field are not always an accurate representation of how much experience they really have. And then,
Yeah.
so I have that cat 3 guy that I do trust to analyze data because he's been doing it, or the cat 3 guy that just took test after test and was good at test taking, but really doesn't have the experience in the field. And those two aren't the same. It's that's
And
something
for
like you said.
some people like myself, I was the exact opposite. Where my previous employer was, we want you to be qualified.
Yeah.
If you're qualified, that's all that matters. I don't care if you're certified.
Right.
And there's a
Right.
difference. And
Yeah.
the industry was okay with that then. And they started to change. Well, if you're going to analyze my data, now you got to be certified.
Yeah.
And so I was doing it for probably 12, 13 years, every day, 40 hours, 50 hours a week before I took any certification. And I went and took CAT 2. And then I had left and came to RDI. But, you got people that have done it 30 years that haven't taken any certification. But man, those guys know what they're doing.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
I know some really good just Cat 1 or Cat 2 analysts that would out analyze any Cat 4s out there that are just
Yeah.
because they've been put the time in the field. And yeah, it's not replaceable with training. Training's important for sure.
Absolutely, for
the
sure.
experience that goes with it is just as important, if not more.
Right.
And where I think the three of us, and we're not, I'd say we're not special. We're all special. But I'm saying we're not the only ones, is what I should say.
Oh,
But there
Right.
is there is something to be said for, we have spent over our careers. We're not that guy that worked at Acme Widgets from the day he turned, 18 till the day he retired, where we saw the same 250 pieces of equipment day in and day out for 40 years. And I think that has a lot to do with you get these certifications. Like we'll use Cat 2 as an example, Cat 2 vibration. The Cat 2 vibration is not equipment specific.
yeah,
It's vibration. And you might be talking to these guys in these classes, and they're like, "Oh, what? I don't even know what a slipstick conveyor is, or
Right.
whatever the case is." I've never seen one of those in my life. What do you mean a turbine pump? We don't have turbine pumps. And I
Right.
think that's where it helps us because we've seen a lot. I'm not going
yeah,
to say we're experts in any of it. I know I'm not, but I've seen a lot of shit
yeah.
working in different industries. And I think that's helped me out a lot because you can start making those connections, and it helps with
That's
the
a good
training when
point.
you go back because you can say, well, this isn't exactly the same, but I worked on a piece of equipment similar to this at,
Yeah,
a pre-coat steel mill or something.
Right.
You never know. So
yeah.
I love that's one thing I like, and me just being completely OCD anyway. There is no way I could work 40, 50 hours a week in the same plant every day. I would go nuts. I've got to be out. I got to have this change of scenery. And the travel sucks, but the
Right.
beauty is if you end up working with a guy who you don't like, guess what? You don't have to work with him tomorrow. You'll
I
probably never see the guy again. So you can.
I always encourage, especially young students or anybody getting in the industry that's young at all, get out there and get a travel job before you get kids and stuff. See the different plants because
Yeah.
I mean I was a perfect example of that. I was at the same place I was for a long time. I think 8 years at the same place, seeing the same machines, the same problems over and over. And I thought, man, I'm a master at this. I'm good at this. As soon as I took a traveling job and started going around, I'm like, wow, a pump is not a pump. A fan is not a fan. Depends on what they're doing and where they're at makes a huge difference. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
I learned a ton by just the first year on the road. I think I learned more than I did over that 8 year stretch at the one place because not just the data and the different types of machines, which is a huge part of it too, but it was also culture. Like I came from a place where the level of proactive or versus firefighting mode, what their maintenance style was pretty set. They got into rhythm and like they believed in our data. It took them a while to get there, but they believed in all the data. We could show it to them. In the beginning, they're like, no, here, you said this bearing's bad. They put it on our desks. They cut it open and show me. So that was also kind of a learning curve there too, and a lot of
Yeah.
pressure. But anyway, there was a certain amount of, we'd collect the data and at the end of the week, you'd get a report and we usually could see work orders generated from that report by the next week. Things were fairly quick. I go on the road, and one of the first things I did at the very first job I went on the road, it was somewhere down in Kansas City, and I met the maintenance manager guy, introduced myself, and went out and started collecting. I think at that site I was just doing thermography and motor circuit analysis, and usually spent I think 3 days there to collect the data. Then the plan was to report out on the fourth day. Well, I didn't know. That's the way I always did things. I start collecting the data, and towards the end of the first day, I run into him in the hallway, and he's like, "I assume everything's good because you haven't stopped to see me." And I'm like, "No, I found a few problems." And he was pissed. He's like, "Why the hell did you not come and tell me that?" I'm like, "Because I usually collect the data, and then at the end of the week, I'll give you the report." And he's like, "No, not here." He's like, "I don't know where you came from, but he's like, I want to know when you find a problem right then." I'm like, "Every problem, or like at the end of the day, report out?" And he's like, "No, right when you find it." And I was like, that was so different than anywhere I had ever been.
Well, you're
And
going
I
to want to
did
probably just walk around with me then because it's going to save.
well, I was like, holy cow. Yeah. And he was mad about it. But it is weird. It does but the point is you definitely pick up other than just the equipment and the data, you pick up cultural things too of like how maintenance programs are run
Absolutely.
and,
Yeah.
and learn processes. Like you said, I love how it's made as well. Watch that all the time. And,
Right.
you pick up, you get these different industries and know how things are made. And actually, sometimes you get those stories where you're like, I wish I wouldn't have known how that was made now, especially food industries, where you're like, wow, now that I've seen behind the scenes, I don't know if I'm going to eat this stuff anymore. But
Yep.
yeah, it's
Uh-huh.
Here,
cool.
just a couple, 3 weeks ago, I got to go in and see how drywall is made.
Oh,
Mm.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's
That
probably,
is incredibly interesting. Now,
huh.
and when you say it out loud, it's like saying, "Oh, I got to watch paint dry," because that's kind of what it sounds like. But I just stood there and watched this production line. I'm like, that is the coolest shit I think I've ever seen. Watching them just shoot gypsum board through there, and I'm like, you never would have thought. And the way it goes down, comes back, goes through a bake and setup, it was neat. But yeah, you
Yeah,
get to. I love the show. I also love to see it in person
yeah,
Right.
because there's a lot of things, and obviously there's a lot of these plants you go into. They're like, "What are you doing here?" It's like, I'm here to do some alignments for you, or do a compressed air leak survey or whatever. It's like, all right, you can go in here and do your work. What's behind that door? Don't look behind that door.
Hmm.
We're
yeah,
not.
Yep.
You don't
yeah.
get to see what's behind that door. It's like, so some of it I feel like you miss out. It's kind of like, well, the Anheuser Busch. You go down, you go on the tour. Well, there's
Yep.
the tour, and then there's when I went and did work for Anheuser Busch. Then
Completely
there's the
different.
tour. It's
Yeah.
not the same tour that you pull into the guest parking lot and go take. So you get to see
Right.
some cool stuff.
Yeah.
Um, I,
Absolutely.
I do want to make a quick circle back. We were talking a lot about training and stuff like that. And you had made a comment, Dustin, and we just discussed this with Colin on the last podcast about there's a certain facility that, and I know there's a lot of places they require you to be, say a Cat 3 analyst or whatever to do any of their analysis and reporting. Well, this specific plant, which I do some work with too, through a subcontract thing we have, they require you to be Cat 2 to even collect data, which
Hmm.
is excessive in my mind, but it's not I'm not the one putting that bill, so they can set those
Right.
standards. So I believe that's becoming more and more prevalent. Not everybody does it, but I think every year a few more plants do that where they require you to have a certain level of certification to be able to
Right.
do that job. Do you see it now, or do you foresee it in the future that is going to be an issue with motion amplification? And the reason I ask this is, should people start now getting that certification, knowing that someday I might need it?
One, if your employer is willing to put you through the training, absolutely. I mean,
Mhm.
if you work for an employer that's willing to invest money or dollars so that you can gain knowledge, you should absolutely take advantage of that. No matter what technology, what it is, that's important.
Yeah,
And as far as motion amplification, I think any technology, yes, absolutely. It might not come in handy today, and you might not ever use it, but
right.
you might be like, hey, there's a problem. Now I took that class. I don't remember how to use it, but I know that technology would be good to find that problem.
Yeah.
Let's
Sure.
call somebody that is an expert. So just understanding even high level managers, I love when they come to classes because they may never use a camera or a data collector, but now they know what tool they can go grab to help them when they
Yeah.
have a specific problem. So
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay. And to piggyback off that, there's been many times that I've been looking at something vibration related, and I'm like, I don't fully grasp what this is. And I mean, I don't think it's ever wrong. I don't care how I've been doing vibration, 12-ish years. I
Right.
would not call myself an expert by any stretch. And I'm decent at it. And there's times that I'll look at data and be like, I have no idea. I got to have somebody else look at this and give me a second opinion. I mean, I'm sure it happens to all of us, right? Because
Yep.
you're never going to
Yeah.
have seen everything. But I have been able to, kind of rely on my knowledge in other technologies because even though they don't replace one another, I've looked at things in vibe data and been like, I'm not really sure what that is. But you know what? That crest factor is kind of attributed to what I saw in an ultrasound spectrum. And you can start to, because at the end of the
Yep.
day, time waveform is a time waveform, you
Exactly.
know, but
Yep.
what is the amplitude is the only difference. Is it,
Right.
SPL or decibels or whatever, or is it inches per second or mils or whatever? So it's just a different unit of measurement, essentially. So I've used those, hand in hand. I'm sure there's many, many, many um, other times that you'll see one where you can rely on the other. An oil sample, for example. Hey, I'm
Right.
starting to see increased brass in the oil. Oh, that's weird because I also started to see a race defect on my bearing. So you can
Right.
start. Oh, we could start to piggyback these off one another. But
Yeah.
Absolutely.
These tools
so
work well together. Yeah, for
they
sure.
They
do.
do.
And speaking of
Yeah.
tools, oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, one of the best uses that I have seen lately is there's been an onslaught of online sensors, and
Yeah.
offsite remote analysis. And
Hmm.
I have seen a number of customers like, we get these reports, I have no idea what to do. And the
Sure.
customers that have some technology, whether it's us or somebody else, that can go put a camera on it, all of a
Yeah.
sudden they don't have to be a vibration expert. They
Yeah.
can see, okay, they're saying to check for looseness, put the camera on it. We see this is flexing or bending, or there's a
Right.
cracked weld. Let's fix it, and then next month we'll see what happens. And that's a huge benefit to them because they don't have to have a lot of 2 years worth of training to get into a true vibration analysis.
Yeah.
Sure. So the way I'm understanding what I guess this is my theory on it, and I think this is the way I'm picking it up is vibration in a nutshell should still be used to go out either online or route based, either one, find those issues, and then use the camera to pinpoint it. You're not using the camera for route based stuff. Would that be a fair assessment?
For the most part, yes. There are tools in our camera specifically that you can do route based. There is a payload for Spot, the robot dog, and that is
Okay.
actually going out doing route based stuff. When we came out
Those
with
things
that,
those are creepy too.
hey, we were all told we were going to be replaced by data dogs. Okay, to
Literally.
be fair, right?
There
I
was
thought it
one
was crazy.
I saw one asleep on the floor of Brad Foster's office. He was laying on his little pad that they sleep on, recharging himself. And then he just gets up and walks down the hallway. And I'm like, dude, what the
Yeah,
hell was that? It was crazy.
I definitely think that the form factor plays a role
Yeah.
in the robot, because I think that it is helpful that it's in the form of a dog. If it were in the form of a humanoid, I think people would really start to be like, wait a minute here, that's different. You know,
Right.
people a long time ago thought we'd be in flying cars by now, like the Jetsons. We
Yeah.
Mhm.
are. It's a different form factor. It's a plane. It's not a
Yeah.
car.
Right.
So, I think that makes a big difference. But yeah, I think that when you have route based like that, I think it's great. But
Sure.
for the most part, you either are going to know there's a problem, you're going to do it at the design phase, or acceptance and commissioning of new equipment. Before you
Yeah.
sign off on it, taking a video is huge. And especially from the OEM side, because I've been in plenty of facilities that as soon as they sign off on it and the OEM leaves, they're grabbing a wrench and something else, and they're making modifications to that equipment to fit their specific needs.
Yep.
And if the OEM can, get video and show here's actual proof of what was going on and what it looked like, it helps them, warranty claims, things like that in the back end,
Yeah.
for sure.
Hey,
Makes
have you
total
ever
sense.
seen anybody install these permanently, like to watch one specific thing, like in constant monitoring?
Absolutely. So
Oh,
we actually have a Iris CM, which is continuous monitoring, and it
okay.
can be multiple cameras set up and triggered like a Ring doorbell, where it's monitoring all the time. It's 90-minute DVR style, but then if something hits in a spot that you have a virtual sensor, whether it's amplitude, frequency, or 4 to 20 input, it can capture that recording with a pre and a post. Again, like your Ring doorbell's monitoring all the time, you only get a notification when somebody walks on your sidewalk. You don't care
Right.
about, everything else. And that's what these do. And
That's cool.
now you can add that with a class 1 Div 2 camera, which really
Yeah.
changes things for, refineries,
Yeah.
nuclear facilities, power gen. So yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, that explosion proof, that was my next question anyway. So you do have
Yeah, there you
capability.
go. Yep. That's probably been one of our biggest requests, at least for us. And there's a lot that really goes into getting something certified Class 1 Div 2.
Oh, yeah.
If you've never seen that process or looked at it, people just think, why can't you just go get it certified? It is very timely. It's rigorous testing. It's expensive. So, so we're definitely proud that is coming out and being able to help a number of industries.
Awesome.
Okay. Speaking of the tools, Brett he's got a question he always likes to ask.
Uh-oh.
Oh yeah. Well, I think I know the answer, but yeah, I always like to people that are in this industry in any facet, because we have our own stories too. But what was the first instrument that you picked up predictive maintenance wise that really got you into this? Was it the Vibe Data Collect? I assume it was, but
No.
Oh.
You would think it was, but when you're just getting into it, it's an infrared camera.
Yeah.
It's instant gratification.
It is.
I mean, no training, and all of a sudden you pick something up, you're like, oh my God, I see the problem.
Yeah.
And I've been here a week. So from that standpoint, yeah. Otherwise, it was an Intech IRD 1250 or 1500 vibration data collector. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, people of our age, which I'm kind of making an assumption, but we saw the Predator back then, and then you get to hold the tool that did that. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. This is what was in the movie. So,
and you're like, why can I not see through that wall?
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, they liked it.
Right.
What the heck?
That movie totally screwed our industry for decades.
Right.
Because I
just thought I needed to upgrade my camera and just keep upgrading the camera until I got to that one that could do it.
Right. Well,
I will touch on that one last point. That is something that our technology or any of the vibration camera-based technologies, you can see through plexiglass and see that, like where a infrared camera cannot.
Right.
So when you're looking at food grade facilities packaging, any of those technologies that are video-based can see right through that and get that quantitative data. Yeah. So that's also pretty beneficial.
That is very handy.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I've learned a lot. Brett, have you learned anything?
Yeah.
Come on. Brett's like, no, I already knew all this. I know everything.
Yeah. Well, I'm always going to say yes, I learned something, whether I did or not. No, seriously. Because I didn't know a ton about this. Like I said before, I grabbed the camera and just played with one to figure out and didn't take very good videos. But when I saw other people's videos online, I'm like, man, I could see where this is going to be a game changer for the Vibe world and just structural type things as well.
Yeah, right. Just year after year.
You had to see it before you could believe it then, right?
Right, yeah.
And I think it's going to keep getting more and more prevalent in industry just as time goes on. But yeah, it's very refreshing to hear, and this coming from the guy that does this day in and day out, it's not going to replace your vibration.
Nope.
It's just going to, it's going to make your vibration program more robust.
Right.
So let's go ahead and give you an opportunity to do a shameless plug. How can we, if people want to talk to you or find out more about you, or how do they get a hold of you?
You can find me on LinkedIn. As far as the company, rditechnologies.com. There's a great website. We're actually redoing it now to focus more on problems, looseness, misalignment, piping, as opposed to just a holistic view. A lot of people that are going online to search for something are looking for one specific thing. It's their problem. That's really all they care about. So we're trying to help tailor it towards that.
Okay.
But yeah, send us a message. We'll be more than happy to help.
Are they going to have a P to F curve on the new website?
We might just have to do that. If we had my way, we would.
Sneak it in or something. Yeah. But so
maybe
on
it'll
the
be
website
like the new Easter egg. We'll hide it somewhere. Somebody's got to find it.
But on the website too, just clarify for everybody so you guys go from not just selling the equipment, you also have services. Is that correct?
Yeah. So there's a lot of customers that, just have a one-off. Okay. And maybe they don't have the manpower, but they still have a problem. So absolutely. And we can do training that even if you don't have a camera, just to help make you aware of it. We talked about that continuing education.
You guys do on-site and public, like if you go to a customer or public type trainings as well?
And we also do virtual now. Personally, I'm not a big fan, but after 2019, 2020, we had to throw that as an option.
Yeah,
I don't
Sure.
know if you guys do that too, Brett, but I'm not
yeah.
a fan of that. At least I don't learn that way. But
Yeah.
some
It,
people
it,
like
it
that.
does hit a small market, but there is a market, but you're right. It's a smaller market of people that want that. Usually I want somebody in front of me that I can ask questions and I want to see things and actually put my hands on these various different instruments to
Right.
try them out. So yeah, but yeah,
Absolutely.
there's definitely places
For sure.
for it. But yeah,
Perfect. Well, Dustin, I want to thank you for taking the time today to hop on. It's,
yeah,
it's always good.
Absolutely.
It's always good to catch up with you anyway. It's been too
Right.
long
I
because,
appreciate it, man.
and heck, I was
yeah.
just in Cedar Rapids last week and well, just couldn't quite make it happen. But it's always good to catch up with you.
I was in the mountains, so I didn't miss you, man.
Yeah,
Thanks. Thanks.
yeah,
Yeah, I was in the
Anytime I
mountain.
can get to the mountains, that's way more important.
I
heck
felt
yeah,
like I was in the mountains where I was at. There was mountains of corn everywhere that I was walking through.
yeah,
That they just piles of the shit everywhere, getting in my boots.
yeah.
But
Right.
Different types of mountains here. Yeah,
Right,
different.
exactly.
exactly.
Yeah, they got pissed when I tried skiing down it. They're like, "Get off
Yeah,
of that!"
Yeah.
I'm like a
it's probably
child when
There
I
you
go
go.
out to these places.
Right,
But
for sure.
but thank you very much. We have a lot more
Not a
episodes coming
problem.
up. We got some good guests, so make sure you tune back into. We're gonna be talking about oil. What else do we have coming up? I know we have some MLT stuff coming up. We've got a motor
well,
circuit
yeah.
test one
Like
coming
I said,
up.
we're going to try to hit every topic. We've generally
Yeah,
found some people that are pretty good at every different type of predictive and reliability stuff. So we're going to try to hit them all. But
yep,
yeah, Dustin, we appreciate you coming on and the motion
yep.
amplification thing. I couldn't think of a better person to to be on this
I
on that
appreciate that.
topic. So
All
Well,
right.
I'll take this 1 second to say thank you guys for putting this podcast on, helping educate the industry in a different way than a lot of other ones. So we appreciate it for sure.
Yeah.
awesome, thank you.
Well, we appreciate the feedback, and we like doing it. We like sharing the knowledge and getting like-minded people together so we can all learn from one another. Because not a single one of us is the expert in all of this. So
Right.
if we
Right,
can collectively put
Absolutely.
all our heads together, hopefully we can make the world a more reliable place.
There you go.
good
All right.
tagline.
Appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, and I'll
All right.
throw a PDF curve up here at the end,
Yeah, yeah, I do.
just for you guys.
Appreciate it. So, yeah.
All right. Thank you, guys.